Hey there, folks. So, last episode we went through and we started getting our new game configuration settings into our code so that we can actually go through and affect things like. Let me find the begin play here. So, we can do things like enabling third person, setting our length of day, and things like that. This episode, I wanted to go through and adjust our stat line to accommodate for that day length. And to do that, there is a couple of things I wanted to do. Specifically, the main one is going to be the rate our stats are ticking at. So I've gone through, done some math. To work out what would be some viable, and you can actually see I have a little note here to make these adjustments. What I want to do is go through and adjust these, but to do that, there is some configuration information, variables, I should say, that we need to add. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy this top section here, and what I'm going to do. Top section, top property declaration there. I'm going to get rid of the tooltip for now and copy that again. So these are going to be some integer values that are going to represent how long it's going to take for things like hunger and thirst to decay from 100% to 0. So int days to starvation equals I can't even remember. I think it's 10. And then int days to dehydration equals. Now, I can say, I looked this up, it takes 3 days for a person to die from lack of water. However, one thing, and I'm going to check on this one, I don't think that's right. I think it's 30. I can't remember. But it's also going to be based on the player's, like a person's body mass and things like that. But I'm going to go with around 10 there. And they say it's 3 days for dehydration, but that is for the person to die. Cease to live, however you want to term it. Probably going to get demonetized by YouTube for this episode, or flagged, I should say. But either way, days to dehydration is by default in the real world 3. 3 days without water, you're going to dehydrate, and yeah. However, because we have this mechanic that I want to use, the dehydration is going to be slowly damaging a person. I want to reduce this down to 2. And actually, with that, I'm going to drop this down to 9. So whatever you want it to be, minus 1. Sorry, I was just coughing there and I muted, and apparently it's a key combination. So with that, though, we have these 2 default values. And again, these are going to be things that you can adjust per stat line component. That's why we have these edit defaults only. And then we're going to want to add a function to adjust the logic for things based on these values. And obviously our day length. Now, I'm actually going to put this down here in the protected section. I will be explaining why in more detail in the next episode. So, void calculate tick rate per day. And we're going to create that definition. Now we have, I'm just going to do this in here, hunger, thirst. And if you add any more stats, like if you're wanting to add in other stats that are relevant to a passage of time, then you would add that in here as well. And that's going to be things like when I want to add in things like, I'm just going to call it sleep, or the need for sleep for the purpose of this description. But anyways, so with that, we do need to grab our day length. Stat line of utilities for that function. Don't have a pointer to the game instance, but we do. No, we're going to do it from the game instance. So, do you have that source file? Oh, apparently, I still had that selected. So we're going to include our copy to our game instance there. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to go int day length in minutes equals e day length to int cast utf game instance uGameplay statics get game instance get world, and then yeah, it's there, get day length. So that's going to give us our day length in minutes, and that's our value from like 30 to 300. So what we want there is we want to take our day length in minute, but we're going to want to do this per. So float hunger tick equals day length in minutes times by days to starvation. Is that times by? Yes, sorry, I was just looking at my notes here. So what we actually want to do here is 1 divided by this value. Now this can be a ridiculously insane number. So actually I want to change that to a double. Let me check here. Accuracy of float versus double. I can never remember. 7 digits, double has 15. Okay, so we do want to change these to a double. So with that, we actually want to go to our data type fcore stat, and change this to a double. Now this may actually break a few other things, but tick stat find. No. Okay, so go back to our stat line component. We're going to change this to a double. And then we're going to go double thirst tick equals 1 divided by day length in minutes times by days to dehydration. Now these are, as I said, going to be very, very small numbers, just comparably. So, and the reason being for that, this is the number of real world seconds. Like this value here is the number of real world seconds that it's going to take to decay. Because I'm just looking at my notes here, and I did the math on this. And yeah, this value here should be something. I'm going to put a comment here. 0. When we do a debug, this should end up as a value of something at around there. That's what we want it to be. Sorry, negative. And that would be, so for a 30-minute day length, it would take this much thirst off every real world second. So we'll do the math on that actually. So there is 30 minutes in a day, so we want to times that by 2. So that is our 60 minutes, 2 days for complete dehydration. Now we want to times that by 60. It's 3,600. Now we're going to times that by 0.00027. 97.2. Okay, my math is a little off there. It's a rounding error. This is going to have some numbers afterwards that I haven't noted down there, but that's basically 97% of the thirst meter would have decayed in the space of 60 real world minutes. So, which is what we want. So what we're going to do here is hunger dot adjust tick. Is that the one? I think that's the one we want. Of course, stat adjust tick. Yes, that's setting the new one. 0 minus hunger tick. And the reason being for that is we want this to be a negative. You can either do 0 minus, or the other option is times -1. Actually, I'm going to do times -1. So, and then thirst dot adjust tick, thirst tick times -1. Now, on top of all of this, we need to call this function, obviously, and we're going to call that as part of our begin play. And now, because this is dependent on there being time of day, we're going to include that within our isValid chrono manager. So now what I'm going to do is throw a breakpoint here. We're going to build the project, and we're going to see how this actually works out. I'm concerned my math is incorrect here. I always am until I actually see it working. Now this is going to vary based on a couple of different factors. Like if this is a 300-minute day, we're going to see something in the region of that, which is why, well, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8 plus a few more. So yeah, that's where the reason why we want that double is because this is getting into the more extreme levels of decimals. So just undo that so it doesn't think there's code change, and we'll launch into the editor. And apparently my dogs are impatient. Alright, so now to test this, we're actually going to use the whole main menu system. So apparently my screens are all messed up. My content browser is on my main monitor, and the actual editor is on one of my side monitors. When it wants to move, come on. I hate how the editor is so unresponsive when you first launch into it. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to load up our persistent map, and this is just so it loads the main menu and then into our dev map. So I'm going to hit play there. Now we're going to hit that breakpoint because we have a character with a stat line. Oh no, it caught it beforehand. I'm going to throw a breakpoint there just in case. Now, new game. I'm going to set this to 30 minutes because that's what I was doing my math on, was 30 minutes. And we're going to hit start. Okay, so we did hit that breakpoint. Continue. Oh, I hate how these get optimized away. Okay, so we're just going to hit continue here. Third person character. Stat line. Stats. Thirst. Oh, did we have some odd behavior here where this didn't? So I'm going to add a breakpoint on get day length in our game instance. And also in our utility function, just for purposes of trying to figure out what is going on here. Because that looks like we got a math value of 0, which is not what we want. So new game. We're going to go 30 minutes. We're going to start. Okay, so that's a min 30. We're going to continue that. It's min 30, so we're returning 30 there. That is our chrono manager's attempt at it. Okay, now we should min 30. Okay, that value is min 30 again. And there's still 0. Do I need to recompile something, actually? Third person. We'll open up a third person character here. Which screen are you going to open on? This one here. Okay, we'll try this again. Okay, let's return to min 30. Let's return min 30. Why is... So it's 9, that's 2. It's saying 1. Okay, so it's 0.25. Negative, still 0.25, and that's showing 0 because okay, there's something off there. So let's go look at our Chroma Manager. Yeah, because that we're not doing any logic, we're just pulling that. So there is something wrong with our math here or the code. So what we're going to do here is add some debug logic. So int, I'm trying to think what to call that. I'm just going to put that debug one. Actually, yeah, debug 1 equals day length in minutes times by days to dehydration, because that's the one I want to work on. Actually, we're going to add that as a value in the So, and these are some of the things that end up happening with debugging. Set that to a value of -1. I'm going to copy that, go back to our stat line, source. And we're going to do the same thing with a double. Debug 2. Spell that actually equals 0. Actually, no, I'm going to put that at -1.0. Just again, so these negative values are there because our math this should have a positive number, and this should be a very small positive number, and then we're doing the negative here. So, and actually, I'm just going to do it this way: 0 minus. Because as much as I understand that times -1 should work, I want to use this just because I prefer that. So and then debug 2 equals this. All right, save that, and let's launch back in. So this may take a moment because, again, we've made changes to the header file, and that tends to result in some extra compilation. And this is why I've mentioned it before, but again, I know people bounce around between the series episodes, but that's why I try to establish as much as I can within the header files at the start, even though we're not using everything, because it's changes to the header files that are going to be the most impactful for the amount of time it takes to compile your game. Because as I've mentioned before, any changes here, so we'll just say, for example, use this for example, pull this back up. If we were to change the fgame configuration header, the game instance needs to be recompiled because it's using information from this header file. And then because the game instance needs to be recompiled, anything that references the game instance needs to be recompiled. So that's the reason there. And because I didn't save the editor or close the editor properly, it went back to its old configuration. So okay, we're not even going to start that new menu. I'm just going to do it from here. So there's our chrono manager. This should get, it's returning 60. Okay, so that is what we want there. Let's go to our stat line component because the chrono manager gets done first. Okay, I'm going to hit continue, continue. Oh, why is it not letting me see any of these? So it's 2. It should not be 78. That should be 120. So this might be the issue here. Okay, days to dehydration is 2. Okay, so first of all, I wanted to do that. No, build, cancel, stop. I hit the wrong button. Okay, so we want that. No, we want that. Just want to make sure the value we're getting there is correct. So let's try this again. Where I think the issue is right here. May want to change or add something to our game instance to just return the int directly, which would simplify things a little more. We wouldn't have to pass it through to a utility function and go through all of that. So, oh, and again. Okay, so let's play an editor one more time. Okay. Length of day, min 60. Okay. That is 60. Okay, that's correct there. We're going to continue. Get rid of that breakpoint. Length of day is min 60. So that value should be, that 0.00027 should actually be 1.4, something in that region, but why are you getting a value of 3? I think this is the issue. Because yeah, that value, this is not being adjusted correctly. So we're just going to hit continue though. We're going to actually take a look at this in the editor itself. So character, stat line. So those are a negative value. Debug 1 is 60. So debug 1 is correct. Debug 2 isn't. So debug 2 is oh, I know why we're using integer math. Okay. Because this is an int, this is an int. So what we need to do here is pretend it's a double and pretend that is a double. And this should fix this math here. It's I'm going to I'm intentionally not fixing this one, because that'll prove that this was the issue. If debug 2 is correct, but our ticks are still 0 or negative 0, then we know that was the problem. And yeah, and 1 divided by an integer times an integer, the code is going to be treating it all as integer math. Actually might need this to be a double as well, but we'll see. And I think that actually ultimately is my issue here. So, and come on, editor, respond. And this is an example of some of the weird logic errors that can happen with your code. Well, giving the editors a chance to catch up here is things like this. Like and this will catch you off guard constantly. Like it caught me off guard. I'm 25 minutes into the episode and I didn't even think about that until just now. So, but those are things to, I don't want to say look out for, but those are things to realize. Like you may need to do some data type adjustments based on your logic. So get rid of that one, get rid of that one, because we know that logic is working. So get rid of that one. Okay, so we know this is returning 60, even though that is 3. And that is weird. So we're going to just go through. Actually, I'm just going to hit continue. And we're going to just take a look at things here. So back to the editor, select our character, go to our stat line. Okay, so there, that was indeed the error in the math, was based on that not having those data type casts. So stop the editor, and I'm actually going to close it down properly this time so that hopefully it saves that layout. So I'm going to go one step further though. I'm going to do this and then do the same thing here. Double, actually just copy this and paste it in front of all of them. Okay, we know this one is good, so we can get rid of debug 1. Thank you. And we'll launch back into the editor. Now this, again, just while we wait for this to build, you can expand this to include whatever stats you want. It can be your stamina regeneration, your hunger, your thirst, your health. It's all going to be down to how you're setting up your game. Obviously, I can't tell you how to do it for your game. I don't know anything about it. But hey, it worked. Just quickly to finish that. Like in here, I want my hunger and thirst to be adjusted based on our day length. Our health regeneration, I also want to, but it's not a linear curve. Like where hunger and thirst, it's just over the course of a certain amount of time, it gets worse at a consistent rate. For health, I want it to be more of, oh, well, it's going to have other factors. Like if you're hungry, if you're thirsty, you don't heal as quickly. If you're really badly injured, it takes a lot longer than, say, a paper cut. Extreme examples, a broken leg versus a paper cut, like, are going to take longer, things like that. So for my purposes, health doesn't work or won't work in this situation, but hunger and thirst clearly do. I'm trying to figure out how I want to do stamina, because that value doesn't really exist the days too for stamina. It's more like minutes too. So, but either way, now we've got that. Let's go through and we're going to hit play here. I'm going to just skip through this actually, because we know that was the issue here. Go back to our character. Select our stat line, and you can see these now are ticking at some comparable rates. Now, obviously, we have a 60-minute day length right now, so that would take 2 hours to hit 0. And with that, that's pretty extreme. I'm not going to sit here and extend this for 2 hours, even time-lapsing it, because, well, that's a ridiculous thing to expect. But you can see here, we do have our different values. Obviously, hunger is decaying at a slower rate than thirst. My math was off there in my mental math for that 0027. But either way, now we've got that working. Let's check it through our persistent, like our proper level process here. So we're going to open up our persistent level. You can see there, we're going to hit play. Should give us our new game. We're going to hit new game. I'm going to pick 30 minutes. We're going to hit start. I'm going to select our character here, go to our stat line, and you can see these values are much smaller, or larger, sorry. And they're ticking at a faster rate. Now, obviously, there's going to be other factors. Things like if you're overheating, you're going to lose your thirst. If you're running, you're going to lose your hunger, burning energy, things like that. These are just the initial kickoff points for this stuff. I want to make some further adjustments, and I want to do the mental math for it and adjust things as we go there. Did I add a global temperature? Oh, see, I did. So, but that is the basics of that there. And that's really the main thing I wanted to cover in this episode, was getting the day length adjusted ticks sorted out. And you'd be surprised how long this math actually took me to mentally work out, because it was pretty complicated to figure out a way that we could do it that didn't involve a ridiculous number of variables. So, however, I want to do some basic math here. As you can see, I was doing some math there, and that's where I got that 0. I factored it by 1,000 because this calculator sucks for doing decimal double math. But so we have a 30-minute day length. It's going to take 2 days to dehydrate before we start taking damage. So that's 60. That would be this value here is 60. So we're going to go day length in minutes is 30. Days to dehydrate is 2. I think I screwed my math up actually when I was doing this. 1 divided by 60 equals 0.16 reoccurring. Okay, so let's do that based on a 60-minute day length to see compared to the math we had there. So 60 minutes a day times that by 2, so that's 120. So we're going to go 1 divided by 120. Yeah, I screwed up my math because that's the number we were seeing as a negative. So, but with that, folks, I know this is a shorter episode. I wanted to get this out of the way before I move into next episode. And next episode is actually going to be, we're going to be making a derived class for the stat line component, making some code adjustments here, because what I want to do is I want to create a unique player stat line from, again, this is for my game. If you're not worried about what I'm about to be talking about, don't worry. But I want to do things like, I'm going to remove these after, but I want to go like F-core stat carbs, F-core stat protein. Yes, this is, we're going into some really extreme levels of accuracy or not accuracy, but needs. But I'm trying to, or my goal is to create as accurate of a survival game as I could. But obviously there's certain limitations. I can't go into the 100% accuracy. I could, but then you're running in a game that's, you have to make considerations. Do you want the 100% accuracy? Then you're going to have to find other ways to keep your efficiency, because you're going to be starting to have a huge amount of back-end logic. Oh, we're going to actually get rid of that. That you're going to need to sacrifice something else to compensate. In most cases, it's graphics. So, and I want to try and keep it pseudo-realistic graphics. But anyways, folks, I went and started talking about random stuff more than I needed to. As always, thank you for watching. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, concerns, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching again, and I will see you in the next episode.